I was recently trained in a really cool process called the values-based integration process. And there's been many things throughout my life that have encouraged the identification of values. Most specifically, DBT really emphasizes to live a life worth living. It is one that's in accordance with your values. And for me, picking from a list of values has always been a little challenging. It Now that I've done this training, I better understand why. Because there's a lot of shoulds around values. There's a lot of like right, wrongs, good, bad, especially for someone like me who came from a high demand religious upbringing. There was a lot of specifics around like what good Christian people do and what those who do not follow that path do. And the like being good in whatever group that I'm in sort of carried through my life after being exposed to that experience early on. And I eventually got into a place where I was like also doing things according to like, even though I switched from conservative evangelical Christianity to like, radical lefty, like anarchist Judaism or liberalism or whatever, um, I was still like, what would these people think a good person would do? And so there was a lot of choosing my values based off of what the people around me thought was a good value to have. And this process is really cool because it kind of tricks you out of being able to do that in a really interesting way. Um, so, yeah, it's just very cool how it takes you out of um that ability to kind of judge the values you're choosing by uh like starting with what the beginning of the process is to choose 5 stories of times that you felt fully alive, and then out of those stories, you see like what keywords rise to the surface. And then you define values based on those keywords. So you're literally seeing like what's meaningful to you from what you've said was like a beautiful experience. What can be a really interesting part of the process is that you can get these values out from these stories, and then you can be like, oh, no, never mind. I don't want to have those values. And that can tell you even more so that there's some like message that you've received around that being a good or bad value. And so it can emphasize even more that if it's showing up in your experiences, it really is something meaningful to you. And those messages that have been like holding you down from being able to connect with that value, um, are worth taking a look at and using that value then to rewrite new messages for yourself is the process. So it's very cool. The training was incredible. I learned about the creator of this tool, Heather Morgan, from Devon Price's book, Unmasking Autism, which is an excellent book. And he's coming out with a new book, Unmasking for Life, that's coming out in March that I'm very excited about. But he references this tool in his book. So I connected with Heather through her website, which I will put in the description, and then went through her training for coaches last week. It was 2 days, 8 hours each day, intensive training, but really fascinating and really powerful tool. It's got a lot of resonance with IFS, which of course I am a big fan of, internal family systems, um, in that the messages or kind of rules are kind of like the protectors in IFS, and then the values tend to be kind of like the exiles, and the protectors or messages are keeping the values or exiles down from being able to really like play out in our life. But the powerful thing about this that is a little different from IFS is that after you tell these stories and and glean these values from it, you can then take these values um, to situations where you had a stressful experience and see what your values would actually have to say about it. And the way that it reframes experiences is astonishing. Like, I just did this training, 5 days ago, and there are three major events that happened in the past year or so where I was calling them like big relationship failures. That I was saying, like, this is another evidence of me being bad at relationships, basically. And when I took one of the values that I came up with through doing this process and ran it with these experiences, I was like, oh my gosh, I was just following my value and it was pushing up against somebody else's expectations. And so it didn't work, which is like, so it just eliminates all of the like anybody's bad or anybody's good. It just was like, oh yeah, it, I was really, one of my values is routine. And I went on a vacation and then followed my routine. And the other people on the vacation were like, what are you doing? And it upset them because they were expecting me to go according to these extravagant plans of what they thought a vacation was supposed to look like, and that I was supposed to like jump on board with all of their ideas. And I was like, oh, actually, no, I stick to my routine because that helps me. And that created conflict for them. And the reason why the conflict happened is because previously in life I would have been like, oh, all right, never mind, I won't do my routine. And then I would have like felt poorly, but they would have been happy. So the relationship would have been maintained. But because I like have worked so hard on operating according to my values, I stuck with it. And then that was a conflict for them. And I was feeling guilty. But when I brought it as like, I was previously saying like I need my routine because I've got problems and I've got a brain injury and autism and I'm sorry because I'm bad, but I have to do this. And now I'm like, no, that's actually my value. So I'm like taking really good care of myself and it's valuable to me versus like, I'm so sorry, I'm bad. And it just changed the whole thing for me. It was really amazing, and powerful. So, anyways, I wanted to share about this tool, the values-based integration process. I'm going to put Heather's website and Devon's book in the description. I'm going to put my website if you want a little printout of the tool. It is meant to be done with a trained practitioner, coach, or therapist. It is something that I will be offering and bringing into my sessions because I think, A, it's just really fun that we get to start with fun stories. Um, and I think it's very like exciting to be able to start with joy rather than often we're starting from like a painful story or a painful sensation in your body. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see what happens when we explore really joy-filled stories. Um, but also just because I think it's a really nice complement to all of the other tools that I've been using. So I'm really excited to share it with everybody. Reach out to me on my website if you're interested in hearing more. And I'm going to make another video of my 5 stories. So you pick 5 stories that are going to you're going to pull your values from and take you through the process as I went through it. So I'll make another video for that and I'll put that in the description too. I always say how many things I'm going to put in the description, and then I forget. So I'm going to take a note of that. Um, okay. And yeah, I'm excited about it. So let me know if you have any thoughts or if you know about it already or if you're interested in going through it together. Okay, lots of love.